Headline, remote work culture wars far from over. About 60% of white-collar workers are fully back in the office, according to a recent study, but millions still continue to come in only once or twice a week. According to a study by McKinsey, most workers appreciate the flexibility afforded by hybrid arrangements. Duh. Now, I've said before, I'll say it again. I think long-term, hybrid work is going to be the predominant type of work. Just going to tell you. Ramsey Solutions, full disclosure, ain't no hybrid, ain't no remote work here. However, I believe Ramsey will be in the minority. Companies that want to just be full in the office, I think those will thrive, but they will be the minority. I think if you look over the next 3 to 5, 7 years, you're going to see hybrid work, which if you're not familiar with what that means, it is a combination of in the office a few days a week, and then you are working remote. How we're seeing it play out in most of America right now is people that are hybrid are coming in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then they have Monday and Friday where they work from home. Okay? So I think hybrid is going to be the predominant version of work, not the only one, not the best one. Just don't put words into my mouth, but I just think that's where we're headed. This is a quote from work expert Nicholas Bloom of Stanford. So he studies work trends for Stanford. He said, if somebody's coming into your site 5 days a week, week in, week out, it feels like they're your employee. You want to give them health care, a pension, train them up, have them as a long-term part of the organization. But as soon as they're not on site, managers are thinking it's not so obvious they want to pay all those additional costs. Employees aren't mixing. They aren't talking over lunch about kids. They may be less loyal to the company. I do hear this from companies. The more remote someone is, the more transactional it feels. Now, Bloom is right. It's not his opinion. He's talking to company leaders. And this is the old phrase that's been around forever. Out of sight, out of mind. I mean, this is just common sense here. You could be the best remote worker possible. You could have incredible results. Do all the things all the right ways. But if you aren't in consistent proximity to your leader, to your coworkers, let me just tell you something. They ain't thinking about you. You are not that big of a deal, and neither am I. Hey, watch me not show up for a month at Ramsey Solutions. Ain't nobody thinking about me. Few people that do the show because they're off or I'm not in here yapping in front of them. By and large, nobody's thinking about me. Why? Because I'm not in the office. Now, watch me walk back in the day after, the next week. I'm back in. I've been gone for a month. What are people going to do? What are they going to say? They're going to say things like, hey, where you been? Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. They're thinking about me. Why are they thinking about me? Because they see me. It's that simple. So we've got to understand this. Those of you that are just holding on for dear life and you think that I'm only talking to the people who think there's zero negative to remote work. That's just simply not true. Future of Work consultant Gleb Tispersky says it's time for CEOs to abandon the sinking ship of forced in-office work and embrace the flexible work revolution. The office has its place for collaboration, mentoring, and training, but not for productivity. Now, that's the other side of the coin. Now, he is pro-remote work, but he's pro-hybrid. So, yes, you need to come in. It's good for collaboration, he says. It's good for mentoring and training, and he's right. But it is not the be-all, end-all for productivity. I agree with that. Okay, next article. Jake Wood, this is a Business Insider article. Jake Wood, founder and CEO of corporate philanthropy business Groundswell. By the way, he is a anti-remote work guy, okay? And he just made a big hornet's nest on LinkedIn, and it was reported by Fortune magazine. This is what he said on a LinkedIn post, and it went viral. I can understand the employee's perspective, and he's talking about wanting to work remotely. But I think it's lacking something critical. It's not just about you. What do I mean by that? You might be able to execute your work on time and to a standard in a remote environment. But what about your colleagues? Absent your presence, leadership, mentorship, can they thrive? He goes on. top performers raise the performance of those around them. He's absolutely right. This is severely degraded when those top performers are working from home. This renders much of the rest of the organization operating in an inefficient capacity. New hires onboard more slowly. Junior employees don't grow professionally. He goes on, I think you lift others best when you're in person and people are able to soak up your mentorship, your leadership, and your talents and reflect them in their own work life. Do you agree? I agree. I agree 100%. And I think he poses a really good question. Yes, remote work is your ideal situation. Yes, you are really good at it. But is it all about you? Now, a lot of people, I pose that question and go, you better believe it's about me. I want to do my job. It's other people's job to do their job. Well, wait a second. That takes out the whole notion of a team. Now, if you want to work for yourself, that's one thing. But if you are a part of a team, then I think you have to answer his question honestly. And you working remote doesn't help the team. And I think he's right. I think he's absolutely right. And I think it's right for leaders to say to people, hey, we're not going to go all remote, and here's why. They got to cast vision. And when you cast the vision, then people get to decide. You know what? That's not for me. I'm just going to go work somewhere else where they don't require it. But I don't know how you don't wrestle with the fact that if I'm a part of a team, let's call it a community, and I'm never engaging or rarely engaging with the rest of the community or the rest of the team. Come on. And we're talking about family right now. Come on. How many of you got teenagers? It's all they do is go to their room and they disappear. Let me tell you something. Sometimes I make my kids get out of the room for no other reason and go, I want to freaking see you. And we're going to sit down and we're having family dinner. Why? Because I don't feel like we are a family when I don't see them for hours and hours on end. Now, this is true in our family life, and thus it must be true in our work life. And I think we've got this fight over remote work, I think has a very interesting component to it. And so if you believe in your company, if you believe in the mission of the company, you believe in teamwork, at some point you got to go, well, we've got to be in the room together. Collaboration is better. And when collaboration is better, creativity is better, productivity is better. And here's the deal. We can't be isolated all the time and say, I'm a part of a team. So if you don't want that, I got news for you. Go be on a team that doesn't care or go work for yourself. We're going to have to wrestle with this at some point. And I think people who really want to advance are going to have to deal with this issue one way or another.